Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Triangle Offense. I'm Monish. As always, I'm joined by Nishant. What's up, Nishant? To be honest, I missed the entire weekend's action because I was traveling. But two big news coming out.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis seems to be injured, as we've been suspecting that something's definitely wrong. That's why he hasn't been going all out. We've learned that he's injured and probably will be out for a few weeks. And the other big rumor that I want to talk about today is Andy Drummond no longer active in the Cleves lineup. So let's deal with these two issues today. Anthony Davis first up. Where does that leave the Lakers? I mean, they were outright favorites when the season began. They were outright favorites a few weeks into the season, and suddenly it's all LeBron James all by himself. Now the last week has been kind of surprising, un-Lakerish kinds, because 3 overtime games and then the loss to the Nuggets. So are they still the favorites?
No, at this moment they're not. And for a couple of reasons. One, their play so far. They're grinding out wins, so you'd still have to favor a team with LeBron that can still get outcomes in the playoffs. But their play has been less than spectacular. The offense has taken an absolute beating. They went from being a top 4 offense in the league to not even being close in the last week or the last couple of weeks. And largely they're surviving on the strength of their defense, which continues to be best in class. It really is the best in the league right now on team defense. So the look, whenever the Lakers are favorites, or even for that matter, when they won the chip last season, Anthony Davis played a huge role in that.
Yeah.
If you assign it numbers, if you're going to say LeBron is say 45%, Anthony Davis is maybe 30%. 30% is a huge chunk, and the rest of the team is the rest. So Anthony Davis, and we've been saying this for a while now, right? The way Anthony Davis has been resting, the way Anthony Davis has been underperforming. Forget making shots, he wasn't even taking shots. Yeah, in several games he was. He shot less than Kuzma in some games. He shot less than Montrezl Harrell. That's odd for your second best player, borderline best player on the team. Yep. And everyone's concern and everyone's suspicion was that there's some injury at play. This seems to be like a Zion situation where the team's being really cagey about it and they're not really giving any information out, but something's up. He's missing games. He's not giving his best. That's really not Anthony Davis. He's not the load management in a game kind of guy.
Yeah.
And here we go. So it was an Achilles suspicion. Was it ACL or Achilles?
Achilles.
These injury. Okay. So, but they got the scan. The results came back today, and apparently it wasn't a tear or anything major. But it's never not nervous when it's that area.
Yeah.
That's giving you trouble. And the news says he'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks. So it's not nothing, even though it's not a tear yet. It could be with. So I think the Lakers will take it overcautiously, as they should. Too many teams have paid the ultimate price for rushing a player back from these kind of situations. KD, most recent in the NBA Finals.
Right.
So they're going to take care. Now, if AD comes back, sometime before the playoffs, and they get a run of games in, and they have some form under their belt, and they go to the playoffs, the Lakers are still favorites. If AD is diminished for the season, or worst, if he is out, and we won't wish that upon him, but if he's out for the season, precautionary or otherwise, then that's a huge blow to the Lakers that are already offensively struggling despite their depth, despite their distributed scoring. Marc Gasol, I think we can call it now, has been an absolute dud. I was really looking forward to this, but it looks like he's just about done. This looks worse than Al Horford in Philadelphia when he first showed up. Expectation versus reality.
Yeah.
So the Lakers need to shore up big time in the big man space. But you can't really replace Anthony Davis in free agency or even now at this stage in a trade. So it looks bleak. If Anthony Davis is out, then the Lakers, it's an uphill battle. With LeBron, you'll win a series or two, but it's an uphill battle to take the West.
Of course. And let's say this was a race, right? And the Lakers started off in pole position and they raced away ahead. Now, the Utah Jazz, Philadelphia 76ers, and the Clippers were all chasing. And Milwaukee Bucks to an extent as well. They're all chasing the Lakers. Now, do you think that gap is caught up and probably Jazz have even overtaken them? And if so, how far behind have Lakers fallen? I mean, where would you rank them if you had to take your top 5 teams at this moment?
Yeah, they'd still be in the top 5 because, like I said, they still have the league's best defense. Statistically, they have the league's best defense. So they're still in the top 5, and they've got huge rotations, and they've got people that have really learned their roles well in this season.
Yeah.
Last season, that was their biggest problem. The off the bench role players, not all of them did their job, but of course, by the time the
Right.
playoffs came along, everyone kind of switched it on. So they've got great support and great depth. It's really at the top where the Lakers were top heavy. There's no denying it last season. They're a little less top heavy now, but they're still pretty dependent on that top, and that's where AD hurts them. But first of all, Utah Jazz are playing the best basketball in the NBA. They've been doing this now for
Absolutely.
nearly a month, damn near a
Yeah.
month, and it's not even
Yeah.
close.
18 wins out of the last 19. Amazing.
Yeah, and whatever Brooklyn Nets are doing on offense, we're talking basketball. It's played on both ends of the court. I don't get this concept of two-way basketball. There's basketball. There's attack and defense in any sport, and the Utah Jazz are playing the absolute best basketball. They really are reminiscent of the 2000 San Antonio Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
This fluid off the ball movement, team ball, pass, and then the extra pass until you get it to the best shooter with the highest percentage shot, and he knocks it down. Both things are happening. There's movement and the passing, but there's also people are knocking shots down, which wasn't always the case last season until they came to the playoffs. Conley was a shell of himself. Bogdanovich was in and out. So Utah would probably lead the West for me right now in terms of power. The Clippers are a close second. They're a formidable team. And the Lakers would figure somewhere in that top 5, whichever way you arrange it. But these two are now the teams to beat for the Lakers as presently constructed.
Yeah, and that's one thing, right? The Clippers have been ravaged by injuries themselves. Like Paul George hasn't been playing for a while now. Kawhi sat out, and they're still picking up those wins with their second string unit picking up wins. Now, it remains to be seen if Lakers can do that. They're by no means a second string unit of LeBron as in your starting lineup, but still, it's a big, big blow to have Anthony Davis out. So we'll see how the Lakers pick up from there. And they might definitely not top the West, but I think, top 3 team, definitely. I agree with you there.
Yeah. And I think when we discuss the players coming up next, I think a couple of these would loop back to possibilities for the Lakers because if there is an opportunity to bolster, they should take it.
Let's jump right into it. So the other big news I want to talk about was Andre Drummond is no longer an active player,
right?
According to the Cleveland's management, whenever they go out, because Jarrett Allen's the new center and he's up for trades. So he's up for sale basically. So now you said Marc Gasol has been a disaster for the Lakers. Is Andre Drummond a possible replacement? Because he would fit the bill, except that his wage bill is pretty high.
Yeah. I don't know if the Lakers, we're only speculating at this point, would they really want that luxury tax? Because it's going to be a whole load if they bring in Andre Drummond. And they're going to have to pay probably Brooklyn level of luxury tax, if not Golden State levels. So would they want to do that? I don't know, because it's not like it's a disastrous team. And honestly, it's not like Drummond puts you over the line.
Right.
If AD is out, fingers crossed, if he's out for the season, and it could just be precautionary, even so, if you replace AD with Drummond, that's not a chip winning team. That's not even close. No way. So if you're not winning the chip, if the player coming in doesn't guarantee you a chip or pretty much, then there's really no point paying that kind of luxury tax. Golden State paying that much for Klay Thompson makes sense. Brooklyn Nets paying that much for James Harden makes absolute sense. That's the best shot you've got. Drummond, nope. Great rebounder, amazing rim protector, can give you 20 points a night is what they'll tell you. But he'll give you 20 points a night when he's the focal point of the offense. He'll give you 20 points a night when his usage rate is high. Can he do what Montrezl Harrell does and be a high impact player being ridiculously efficient? His shot percentage will suggest it. But again, that shot percentage is boosted by him getting great opportunities and good looks. Can he do that for himself? No. Is he a stretch big? Not really. Does he solve any spacing problems? Nope. So he's not... It's not like you can plug out Anthony Davis, plug in Andre Drummond and get something out of it. So then if that's not the case, I don't think the luxury tax
makes sense.
Proposition, makes any kind of sense for the Lakers. So I don't think they'll go for it. I think Drummond is more of a... I think at this stage, who's desperate for a player that can rebound and rim protect in the entire league? Oh, maybe. Yeah, exactly. There is no team more desperate for somebody who can rebound, protect the rim, and maybe give some points at the other end. But they really don't need the points. They need the rebounds and they need the defense. DeAndre Jordan's good. I think he's shown he can still be like a 13, 14, and 11 guy. I mean, 13 or 14, not 13 dash 14, 13, 14, 11 guy. Uh, Once in a while, he'll need to be that consistently, and then they need one more of that. It's something like, McGee and Dwight Howard last season.
Yeah. Exactly.
Between them, they were a 2020 sort of duo.
Yeah.
So in 2021, do Brooklyn need a 2021 duo? Yeah, so Drummond makes sense of Brooklyn. It's going to be a huge wage bill, but hear me out. First of all, I don't know who in the world they'll trade at this point to land Drummond.
Exactly. That was what I was coming to next. I mean, it's a $27 million salary that you need to replace. So how are you going to fit that for? How is Cleveland going to get that back? What are they going to?
I think Cleveland will be happy to take the hit and not really salary match, right? I think Cleveland would be, they'd be happy to get a couple of draft picks or whatever in return. The bigger problem is, what do you offer if you're Brooklyn, right? You're either giving up a whole chunk of your future because you've already done a bit of that. You're going to do more.
True.
And in player capital, you don't really have anyone.
Yep.
I mean, anyone you give away at this point is going to hurt you. Maybe Jeff Green, right? That's what the best that they can best that they can do and give away. But if they can somehow piece together a deal for Drummond, luxury tax and all that, they'll basically be paying Golden State kind of money. But it damn near guarantee. I mean, you can't really put together a team that's closer to a chip on paper than possible. And that's the only kind of team you can put together. You can't really put together a team that actually has seen the future. Now, Drummond has a 1-year contract. So this luxury tax is
just for the
one time, one and done. We go for the chip, and then let's see. So that's the attraction for the Brooklyn Nets. But I don't know how they'll put a deal together.
Is Andre Drummond a center that can be there on a championship winning team or at least a contending team? Is he really that good in quality? I mean, if you look at his box score, you'll think so. But if you see him play, you might not think so.
Yeah, I don't think. Where does he rank on that winning team is the question, really. Because on Brooklyn, he's the 4th best player easily, and it won't even be a debate. It's KD, Kyrie, Harden. Yeah. So
Joe Harris is probably
better. Yeah. So no, I think Joe Harris is a spot-up shooter. Drummond offers you a whole lot more. But whatever, he's not in the top 3, right? I mean, the whole bunch of players can be not a top 3 player on a chip winning team. KCP can be in that.
Yeah.
So it's not much of a list, is it? Can he be a top 2 player? That's going to be tough. I don't think he can. I really don't think he can. You pair him with anyone in the league. Luka has Porzingis, who I think is significantly better than Drummond. And I don't think that's a chip winning team yet. They're still shy of a few pieces. Maybe one big piece. So top 2, no way. Not happening. Won't happen. You won't see it. If he's the 3rd best player on the chip winning team, yeah, sure. There's a bunch of teams where it would be take Golden State, for instance, if Clay is back. Clay, Steph. I'm not saying they should do it, but Wiseman out, Drummond in. Sure, that's a chip winning team. So if he's the 3rd best player, yes. 2nd best player, no way. Best player.
Cleveland.
Yeah, exactly. You're already seeing that.
Well, yes, they lost their 8th consecutive game today. Although you can't blame Drummond for that because he hasn't been playing the last 2 or 3 games. But
I do like I do like the Drummond to Toronto bit though. I think that'd be a good move.
Yeah, that's a rumor that's picking up some pace. And
that's a good fit.
Yeah, I think Toronto are lacking some big men at the center. Aaron Baines is doing them no good. Chris Boucher is, but he's not that great defensively. I think he gets you good points, fantasy league wise at least, gets you good blocks. But not really,
he's another one of those hustle guys. He's like a Kelly Oubre. All effort, not necessarily all technique kind of guy. What do you think of Drummond to Portland? They have a slew of injuries. They really don't have a bit to speak of. And it's a 1-year deal. If you want to make one good run because Lillard's balling out as usual again.
Yep.
Good run at the playoffs. It's a 1-year deal, one and done.
I still think CJ, once he's back, I think they'll still have a good... Enes Kanter actually has been doing well for them, surprising as it may sound. He's getting them 15 rebounds, 15 points, and I think they're taking that. He's kind of made them feel like Nurkic hasn't gone missing at all. So I mean, I can't really imagine Drummond to Portland, but that's interesting.
I mean, I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying just
I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
If it does, because
Yeah, it's a strong
it's
team because
elite
Portland.
rebounding, right? It's better than what
Right.
Kanter can offer,
Right.
and he can legit score, get some points at the other end, which is invaluable in the playoffs when you can kind of pump and dump to the low post if nothing else
Yep.
is working out.
Yep.
And Portland don't really have a team ball situation going on a lot of times, so that's a valuable little piece to have. And this is a team loaded with shooters. And Drummond's actually a pretty good passer out of the low post. So
Yeah.
finding the open man for a three, you've got Lillard, you've got CJ, you've got Gary Trent Jr., you've got Melo. As the internet has confirmed today, Melo means Carmelo, not La Melo. It's been the whole thing on Twitter, apparently. So I like that fit. I don't know how they'll make the deal happen, but I like that fit. And it's a 1 year deal. Again, the greatest attraction with Drummond is if you're in a position to make a move to bring him in. Yes, it's a big chunk of salary, but you don't have to commit for more than the rest of the season. You can always figure out at the end of it.
Right. We'll keep seeing where Drummond lands up. But another player who's actually been rumored to, and he's no longer on the Detroit Pistons active lineup as confirmed by their management, is a former All-Star, Blake Griffin. Now, will Blake Griffin find some teams that are interested in him? He's clearly past his prime. He's no longer that high flyer that we used to see a few years ago. But he can still add some value to some contending team. Off the bench, maybe? Any teams that you see?
Yeah, it's insane. He's 31. It's incredible how much he's suffered
Feels
from
like
injuries.
he's been here forever.
Yeah, he's 31. It's what makes LeBron. Man, anyway, look, Blake Griffin's not the Blake Griffin we know. He's not a high-flying dunker. He's not those. He's not that explosive guy. But I will say this. As ravaged as he was by injuries, he's adapted beautifully over time. He's become a smarter player. He does a whole lot more. He's an excellent passer. He's developed a 3-shot, which he now consistently hits at a decently acceptable percentage. His shooting efficiency is low, but hey, he was playing in Detroit. I mean, cut him some slack. He's not a guard or a wing that can create off the dribble. There's some value there. There's definitely not $50 million spread over 2 years value there, which is why Detroit will have a nightmare of a time if they want to get some kind of a salary match trade. That's not going to happen. No one in their right mind is going to give up actual assets, present or future, to pick up Blake Griffin for $50 million across 2 years. That's not going to happen. So then the only way out really is some kind of amicable solution where Blake Griffin agrees to I love how they call it amicable. Basically, somebody agrees to lose money. That's what an amicable solution is. Where they do a buyout. If they do a buyout, then Blake Griffin's a free agent. And if he's a free agent, I doubt it's even a debate. He's going to go to the Lakers. They're going to find a way to make it happen. Bring him back to LA. He's been there. He lives there. There's that whole personal angle of easy plug back in. And I'm willing to bet teaming up with LeBron would weigh higher on his priorities, coupled with the fact that it's a city he's been at before for a long time and a warm weather location versus going to Brooklyn's cold to play, with all of those players. And these are really the two teams that are waiting to pounce on a big guy that becomes available, that they don't really have to commit and make promises as to, you'll be the best player or you'll get regular starting minutes. So for me, this is a lot like Dwight Howard being picked up by the Lakers last season after DeMarcus Cousins went down. If it's a buyout, I think the Lakers are hot favorites to land Blake Griffin, and it would be a good land. I think he can offer significantly more than what Marc Gasol can at this point.
Okay.
But that's really the only way it works. It has to be a buyout.
That'll be interesting to see where these two former All-Stars land up, Drummond and Blake Griffin. Two big names out for sale. All the teams will be looking out. And that's all we have for today. Yeah, I'll catch up after tomorrow's games.
All right, man. Sounds good. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.